of tips, and the mystery continued, and it continues today.
But at the time, it was the largest murder case. The abductor murderer than had been spent on any other case in Michigan history.
So why?
All right, let's try that again, see if that helps. I hope that worked. All right, let's try that again, see if that helps. I hope that worked.
Prints here on the door frame are among the physical evidence uncovered by the State Police Crime Lab. Right now, they're looking for a man believed to be anywhere from 19.
I'll go back and edit it.
Action News that a new suspect has emerged, and it's someone who is still alive.
I just didn't believe it was her until I had.
In 1976 and 1977, Mark Stebbins, Jill Robinson, Christine Mihalik, and Timothy King were abducted, held for days, and murdered. Their killer, known as the Oakland County Child Killer, has never been caught. Now sources are telling 7 Action News that a new suspect has emerged, and it's someone who is still alive.
I just didn't believe it was her until I went to the morgue to see her. My dad couldn't even identify her. All I know is I want to get a hold of the guy that did it, or whoever did it, because I love my sister.
Footprints here in the snow, on the steps, and fingerprints here on the door frame are among the physical evidence uncovered by the State Police Crime Lab. Right now, they're looking for a man believed to be anywhere from 19 to 25 years of age, 5'10" to 6 feet tall, very slender with a prominent nose, and dark, long, wavy hair.
It all began on February 2nd, 1976. Everyone thought it was an isolated case, but the murder of Mark Stebbins of Ferndale remains unsolved. His body turned up 2 weeks after he disappeared in a parking lot in Southfield. The 12-year-old had left his mother and brother at a social function, never to be seen alive again.
Not a day goes by, where you don't wonder and, worry about it. The whys and the wherefores, how long he had been dead before his body was found, who it was.
Based on the investigation at this point, Sergeant, what are your individuals before an incident like this occurs again?
I wouldn't be able to put it in percentage-wise. There'd be no way for me knowing this, and I don't think anybody could put it in a percentage.
Tonight, our look into the cold case of the Oakland County Child Killer takes us on a road trip to North Fox Island in northern Michigan. Police were investigating a child pornography ring on the island back in
1976 and 1977, Mark Stebbins, Jill Robinson, Christine Mihalik, and Timothy King were abducted, held for days, and murdered. Their killer, known as the Oakland County Child Killer, has never been caught. Now sources are telling 7 Action News that a new suspect has emerged, and it's someone who is still alive.
I just didn't believe it was her until I went to the morgue to see her. My dad couldn't even identify her. All I know is I want to get a hold of the guy that did it, or whoever did it, because I love my sister.
Footprints here in the snow, on the steps, and fingerprints here on the door frame are among the physical evidence uncovered by the State Police Crime Lab. Right now, they're looking for a man believed to be anywhere from 19 to 25 years of age, 5'10" to 6 feet tall, very slender with a prominent nose, and dark, long, wavy hair.
It all began on February 2nd, 1976. Everyone thought it was an isolated case, but the murder of Mark Stebbins of Ferndale remains unsolved. His body turned up 2 weeks after he disappeared in a parking lot in Southfield. The 12-year-old had left his mother and brother at a social function, never to be seen alive again.
Not a day goes by, where you don't wonder and, worry about it, the whys and the wherefores, how long he had been dead before his body was found, who it was.
Based on the investigation at this point, Sergeant, what are your chances of catching the individual or individuals before an incident like this occurs again?
I wouldn't be able to put it in percentage-wise. There'd be no way for me knowing this, and I don't think anybody could put it in a percentage.
Tonight, our look into the cold case of the Oakland County child killer takes us on a road trip to North Fox Island in northern Michigan. Police were investigating a child pornography ring on the island back in 1977. Now, just months after 3 Oakland County children were killed and just weeks before another, Timothy King, was abducted.
The pornography operation was run by a man with ties to Metro Detroit, and police were anxious to find out if he was involved in those serial killings.
Yeah, one theory in the Oakland County child killer case is that it was part of a group of wealthy pedophiles who were trafficking in child pornography and groomed underage kids who became victims. A massive investigation led to 2 people, Frank Sheldon of Grosse Pointe, who owned much of North Fox Island, and Jerry Richards, a teacher in Port Huron who recruited young boys to fly to the island on field trips.
I remember getting on the plane, I was so excited. Me and Mike and there's 2 other kids. I think one was a grade above us and one was a grade below us, if I remember correctly. And I remember landing. I remember getting our stuff, getting our cabin. And, within an hour, we were naked on the beach. That's just how it was. If you live on an island, this is how they do it. And there's cameras, a lot all over the place, really.
It's the case that's haunted Metro Detroit for more than 3 decades. 4 children abducted and killed along the Woodward Corridor in the mid-70s by the infamous Oakland County child killer.
Christopher Brian Bush was a convicted pedophile who lived in Bloomfield Hills. The 7 investigators were the first to reveal Bush's autopsy report after he allegedly killed himself inside his family's Bloomfield Township home.
I'm J. Reuben Appleman. I'm the author of The Kill Jar, the first book about the Oakland County child killings. When I was a child in the 1970s, somebody tried to abduct me, and I got away. Nothing happened, but at the same time, they were looking for a kid killer outside of Detroit, and I grew up wondering if that person who tried to abduct me was the Oakland County child killer, the alleged Oakland County child killer, singular. What I later learned after I started digging into the case was that this appeared to be multiple people involved in the abductions of these 4 kids in the 76 and 77. Yeah, I spent 10 years researching that case. This was not a lone maniacal serial killer the way everybody wanted it to seem in the 1970s, or the way the police wanted it to seem in the 1970s, but multiple people were involved in these abductions, and with multiple strings to other, fucked up things that we know about. Fox Island, Cass Corridor, pedophile rings, and, a lot of people, when you talk about this shit, they think you're just a little bit over the edge. But there's only so much of the traditional narrative that you can believe in once you start looking at the documents related to this case. The prosecutors, the political system at the time in Detroit, they knew that. They were covering for people, and, the big story of the book is that was true. But in 1976, Mark Stebbins was abducted. He was found beside a dumpster in Southfield, Michigan, which is right outside of Detroit. He had been raped. He had been in captivity for a number of days, and nobody knew anything until he was found, and they claimed there was no evidence. They claimed he was not sexually assaulted, but documents later showed that he was.
It all began on February 2nd, 1976. Everyone thought it was an isolated case, but the murder of Mark Stebbins of Ferndale remains unsolved. His body turned up 2 weeks after he disappeared in a parking lot in Southfield. The 12-year-old had left his mother and brother at a social function, never to be seen alive again.
Not a day goes by, where you don't wonder and, worry about it, the whys and the wherefores, how long he had been dead before his body was found, who it was, where he was, what he had to go through. And, yes, I'm still very bitter.
Between the time Mark's body was found and that interview was conducted, another youngster had entered what was to be a growing list of infamy.
Then, shortly after Mark was abducted, Jill Robinson, a young girl, was abducted. She was also alone at the time. They found her body several days later.
From Royal Oak, Jill Robinson, 12 years old, was missing. She ran away after a fight with her mother. No one knows anything about the person she met on that adventure, only that that person is a killer.
I thought somebody found Jill. It's
Mrs. Robinson is especially worried because today, Christmas, is something that Jill was really looking forward to. She had saved enough money from her allowance to buy gifts. Gifts that still remain unopened.
I haven't seen her since, and I wasn't really very worried for an hour or so because she's very stubborn. And I thought she'll stand in the next yard and think about it and or go around the block or something. And then I thought maybe she went to visit her father.
In 4 days, it was the day after Christmas. Her body turned up in Troy. She was dead of a shotgun blast to the head. County Prosecutor Brooks Patterson told me the investigation would not soon end.
Still remain anonymous, but the investigation is proceeding. But I can't say that a suspect is surfaced nor that an arrest is imminent. I don't think the public expects these things to be broken in 48 hours.
48 hours passed once, twice, over and over. And while the search for the child killer continued, it happened again.
Months passed between these abductions. Many months later, Christine Mihalik was abducted. They found her body after being held in captivity for something like 19 days.
It will be a week tomorrow since Christine Mihalik disappeared while coming home from this store. In those 6 days, the community has come to realize that a missing child in this area is not merely the problem of the parents. Most of those out collecting funds today have families also.
Yeah, sure. The money is being used for reward for apprehensions of persons or persons who are holding Christine. If it's not used within a year, if anyone should ask, the money will be turned over to the City of Berkeley for crime prevention against children in the City of Berkeley. And this is Chris's family's wishes. Okay. Thank you very much and good luck.
I think it's worthwhile. We have to find the girl. We need information to find the girl. No matter what the situation is, and that's why I'm here. I think this is the only way we can do it.
When 10-year-old Christine Mihalik never came home from a 3-block trip to a party store in Berkeley, within 2 weeks, she too was found dead, this time in Franklin Village. Local police departments, state police, and the county began one of the most intensive searches in Michigan's history. And so with this scene now all too vivid in our minds, the search continued, but turned up nothing of importance.
Shortly after that, Timothy King was abducted. They found his body in a ditch.
The key to Timothy King's disappearance is still the rear door here at the Hunter Maple Pharmacy. This is where the youngster was last seen leaving at 8:30 Wednesday night.
Well, I want to say hi to Tim. We love you, Tim. God bless you. Stay tough. I have one other statement to those persons or person who may be with Tim. I don't know if you have children or if you want to have some, but please treat Tim the same way you would your own kid. Talk to him. He's a talkative kid if you've spent some time with him.
The victim this time, Timothy King, age 11 of Birmingham, last seen at a party store 3 blocks from home, found a few weeks later on a dark roadside in Livonia.
Livonia police kept a mile-long stretch of Gill Road blocked and allowed only a select group of investigators near the body. Though no official statements were being made, the red jacket Timothy King was wearing when he disappeared could be seen from the roadblock. The police began checking license plates and cars going both directions on a mile-long stretch of 8 Mile Road in hopes that his suspect would return to the scene. As part of the routine, Oakland County deputies stopped and searched several people but turned up nothing.
Do you have any reason to believe that the suspect might still be in the area?
Nothing specific, no. But this type of crime, very often the responsible will return just to see what's going on.
I still feel the most important aspect is the investigation and get this animal off the street.
Oakland County became concerned, fearing it might be an ugly pattern developing. Residents' worst thoughts seemed to be coming true.
We received our call from Livonia stating a body had been found and that the clothing description was similar to that of our missing boy.
State and local police say they have no one man under suspicion yet, but they think he lives and works in Oakland County, is a trusted member of the community, and not just some ragged loiterer offering candy to kids.
And shortly after Timothy King was abducted, the abductions of these children stopped. They were all white kids from the suburbs of Detroit, but these were blue-collar suburbs. All 4 abductions happened over the course of 13 months. At the time, The citizens of the area were terrified. Nobody knew what was happening, only that these suburban white kids were going missing, and there were no witnesses, allegedly. Nobody knew why, allegedly. There were no sexual assaults on these victims, allegedly. They just thought somebody was abducting kids to kill them. Everybody was terrified, pretty much. There were posters put up everywhere. It was the beginning of the era of stranger danger. Eventually, there were some witnesses, alleged witnesses, that said they saw a certain type of car, a blue gremlin. They saw a certain type of guy that they thought was the abductor. And these posters on lampposts and in shop windows were put up everywhere with a sketch of the guy and a mock-up of the vehicle, the blue gremlin with the white hockey stripe.
There were tire tracks found at the scene of where they found the body of Christine Mihaly. Smash the gremlin at all?
Not to my knowledge, no.
We would hope that you wouldn't start speculating in that area, okay? We're telling you what we would like you to know. And if you speculate, you could ruin things for us.
Well, we had a customer in the other day that had been stopped. Police and state police stopped him, and local police too.
How do you take it?
In stride. In stride. He was not happy. He was not upset, but he was not happy about it.
Despite all the bad publicity and new car AMC dealers are not happy about it, blue gremlins with the white stripes are still being sold. In fact, one was sold here today in Royal Oak.
So my girlfriends came over one night and they said they saw a man out there looking in my car. I came out off of work one time and there was a guy looking out at my car, but that was it.
You do get some strange looks.
Yeah. It's got a thick business, especially on the blue gremlins. But I would hope that something would happen shortly where this thing would be settled.
We know now that there were multiple cars involved and multiple people involved, but at the time, there was a pretty sizable manhunt on for this alleged person. Millions of dollars of resources were spent. The FBI was helicoptered in. 300 investigators were working on the case at the time. They took over a part of a shopping mall to set up their headquarters, and they allegedly never found anybody related to this case. And at a certain point in 1978, the task force related to this case eventually closed shop, saying they had lack of resources.
It's virtually another police department with one solid goal: this crime. You take a look at that, and that school building has every indication that it's practically an independent police force. It has everything that every police force has. It has all the equipment and all the experts that are necessary to run one police force, and a very large type police force.
Well, you have something like 50 agencies involved right now.
That's correct.
Would you want to try to draw like one man from each agency, or would they be primarily state police detectives?
No, we'd be writing the grant, and it would be our understanding that this would allow for local law enforcement and the technical aspects from the county and state. In other words, the bulk of these individuals would come from local law enforcement people.
But now you say that...
But by the way, someone would have to subsidize the salaries of these officers, because you have to understand that a long-term investigation, they either have to pay out overtime to replace that body at their station, that detective's abilities to handle their cases. So what we're saying is that we know that it's not going to be an easy matter to resolve this, and we have to have money for a continuing long investigation up to 6 months.
Here, what I'm interested in is, as long as we have the manpower, we've got enough cars and gas in our cars and paper to put in the typewriters, we're going to be in business. And if it comes through, we're going to be in business for a long time.
We would like to continue it until we can resolve this case.
Do you have any idea how much money that would be?
We are presently working with people in the LEAA program to adopt the monies and the grant application that would be necessary. Every member of the task force feels that someone has to know outside of the guilty individual, has to be aware of the facts and circumstances, maybe of not all of the crimes, but certainly of one.
The Oakland County Task Force was disbanded near the end of last year due to a lack of funds. The consensus? That the killer was either dead himself or gone from our communities, possibly never to be found again. The task force had exhausted thousands of hours, hundreds of thousands of tips, and the mystery continued, and it continues today.
But at the time, it was the largest murder case in Michigan state history. More money had been spent on trying to find the abductor murderer than had been spent on any other case in Michigan history.
So
Why do you think they never caught somebody?
They already knew who had done some of this, or at least had partaken in some of this shit. We know for a fact that certain suspects that they had at the time were good for these murders, or at least for either partaking in some version of the abduction and murder or not had knowledge of the murders. So there were a couple of people at the time. Christopher Bush was the son of a wealthy General Motors executive. He had been questioned about these murders. He was facing criminal sexual conduct charges up north of Detroit. His wealthy executive father had managed to sort of get him out of most of the shit that he was in. He was partnered with a guy, Gregory Green, who had been convicted of something like 50 criminal sexual conduct charges in California. He had choked a kid, burned him, and thrown him onto the lawn of a hospital at some point. Shortly after his release, Christopher Bush and Gregory Green team up and they start molesting kids together. Both of those people were questioned in the OCCK case, the Oakland County Child Killer case. Both of those people failed polygraphs. Both of those people dimed on each other. Christopher Bush says in an interview with police, Gregory Green killed Mark Stebbins. Green dimes on Christopher Bush. They're failing polygraphs and shit, but it's stated that they passed polygraphs. Okay, now we know that on the night Mark Stebbins, the first abduction of the 4 Oakland County child killings occurred, there was a guy named Arch Sloan working late at night in the auto shop where he worked. He called the local police because he was already on their radar for some shit. He said, I'm going to be working late tonight. You don't have to stop during your rounds, because it was a small area and they would do rounds. And if they saw lights on and shit, they would, roll up and see what's going on. He calls the police on the night early before Mark Stebbins is abducted and says, hey, everything's cool, man. This is me working late at night. Okay, so Mark Stebbins is abducted. They don't put the pieces together or whatever. They don't think, oh, it must have been Art Sloan or something because he called the police. That's not how it worked. But later, they eventually catch up and they start questioning all kinds of pedophiles and whatever. They eventually pull some evidence from a vehicle that Art Sloan owned. That DNA evidence matches DNA evidence found on Mark Stebbins. It wasn't Art Sloan. It wasn't him. But Art Sloan, the night Stebbins is abducted, calls the PD and says, hey, don't bother me tonight. I'm just working. Later, they discover that DNA found in his vehicle matches the DNA on one of the bodies. Okay.
Sloan's Secret. A 7 Action News investigation reveals new allegations against the man named as a person of interest in the Oakland County child killing. A man who says Art Sloan molested him as a child is speaking out tonight only on 7.
His name is David Barney, and he says back in 1976, he lived across the street from the Sloan family in Southfield. And he says he was just 7 years old when he first met Art Sloan, who knew exactly how to lure little boys.
It took a little turtle. I'd never actually seen one in real life, and that's how I met him. He gave me a turtle. That was it.
David Barney says that's how his nightmare began, with a neighbor he now calls a master manipulator.
He was just the friendliest guy, just doing anything he could for anybody. My mom got a set of golf clubs brand new from him. She thought he was just the greatest.
David says what Arch Ed Sloan did to him and other boys in the neighborhood destroyed him. He says Sloan molested him during a 3-year period, starting when he was just 7.
He just took away an innocence of a little child. And it's affected the rest of my life. All these years later, I never stopped thinking about it.
But David says there were those in Sloan's family who knew exactly what was going on.
I just know they knew. The mother knew, the father knew. They knew what he was doing.
David says his parents let him go with Sloan on fishing trips, and he says Sloan loved to drive kids around with him in his 1966 Bonneville. That's the car we now know contained hair that has the same mitochondrial DNA profile as the hair found on Oakland County child killer victims Tim King and Mark Stebbins.
When I saw the picture, it was almost like a horrible flashback.
The new evidence about the Bonneville came to light this week when Oakland County prosecutor Jessica Cooper announced it at a press conference. The hair doesn't match Sloan, but the child killer task force wants the public to come forward with information about who Sloan may have associated with, the Bonneville, or any of Sloan's other vehicles. Do you think Sloan was capable of killing someone?
For me, I can see that type of person he was going farther and farther
David Barney says as a boy, he never went to the police or told his parents because he was scared. But he plans to go talk to detectives now. And he says he wanted to come forward to us in the hopes of helping other sexual assault survivors.
So we got Christopher Bush and Gregory Green, and you got this guy Art Sloan, and then you got this guy Vince Gunnels, who's now, a middle-aged man, but was a teenager at the time. His DNA matches one of the bodies as well.
Before last night, we'd never even heard of him.
But now this man, James Gunnels, tops the list of people detectives want to talk to in a murder mystery that's haunted this area for more than 3 decades.
Who is this man police believe left a hair on the blouse of victim Christine Mahalik? His name, James Vincent Gunnels, a career criminal, identified by his multiple tattoos, both shoulders, both legs, a girl in rose on his chest, a sun on his right arm, a cowgirl on his left. They tell only part of his story. The rest comes from police reports. The defenders have learned James Gunnels grew up in Flint and was best friends with nephews of Christopher Bush. Christopher Bush eventually molested Gunnels at his northern Michigan cottage. Still, police refuse to talk about Gunnels publicly.
Go on the record in the press indicating the evidence they had and asking people to come forward.
When police looked into Gunnels as a suspect, they crossed the country, flying to a prison in Montana. He intentionally threw a polygraph test there, and when his DNA was a mitochondrial match to the hair on the body of Christine Mahalik, police shuffled some paperwork and had Gunnels transferred to a prison in Michigan, hoping the close proximity would give them more opportunities to get information, a move the families like.
I've been tearing myself up for 35 years. Because there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about this.
Police questioned Gunnels' cellmate, who told them that Gunnels claimed to be molested at 15 years old by a man that killed multiple people, and that he believed he was told the victims were children, and that Gunnels may have been minimizing what he knew about or his involvement in the Oakland County child killings. Today, Gunnels has served his time and is a free man living in Kalamazoo. The defenders broke the story for the first time ever, a DNA link between someone and the Oakland County child killer case. A man who is still alive, walking the streets. A man the defenders recently caught up with while hidden cameras were rolling.
They took that and they twisted it to their advantage. Now, do I feel I was a fall guy for them? Hell yeah. I feel I still am. To some degree.
This is James Vincent Gunnels, the only known physical link in the Oakland County child killer case. Tonight, you will hear him tell his story for the first time ever.
I'm done living in fear of what they have told people.
The defenders broke the story earlier this year. Police tested Gunnels' DNA against a hair found on the shirt of Christine Mahalik, one of 4 known victims abducted, held captive, and eventually killed in 1976 and 1977 by the Oakland County child killer. Gunnels is a mitochondrial DNA match, which means it's his hair or a relative of his on his mother's side. The families of the victims are certain Gunnels knows what happened. They want him ordered to testify before the grand jury under oath to find out what he knows.
Nobody seems to want to believe it, so,
Since breaking the story, the defenders have repeatedly asked Gunnels for interviews. Each time, he's refused. So he headed out with hidden cameras rolling to find out more about the man who is the best lead in the 35-year-old murder mystery.
I told my story, Mike, 100%. Didn't add nothing now. The story, state police.
We find Gunnels out riding his bike after being released a few months back from prison following a series of break-ins, robberies, and car theft. He lives in Kalamazoo now, and on this day, he's out looking for a job. He stops for a smoke break at a local rec center and continues on. When we approach Gunnels, we tell him we're from Local 4 News and are surprised when he opens up and starts talking.
My heart goes out to those families, so it really does. I don't feel that they were served justice through any of this.
Then stunned as he goes on in great detail about the evidence, the cops, and the victims' families.
I'm not guilty. There it is there. But at the same time, I know how the state police can twist words to their advantage.
According to police records, Gunnels' story is that he was a teenager at the time of the Oakland County child killings. He was molested by one of several key suspects in the case, a man named Christopher Bush. While the families of the victims and some police speculate that Gunnels may have been used to lure children to the car of the killer and forced to put the victims' bodies on the side of the road after they were killed, Gunnels says it is not the case.
I don't know what they're telling them, man. Right. You know, I don't. All I know is that I'm an innocent victim.
Gunnell says if his hair is on one of the victims, it's because he was in Chris Bush's car on several occasions, and somehow his hair was transferred to the victim's body. He says he never saw Chris Bush attack anyone other than himself.
I see right now on the record, I don't know what that man did to anybody else.
Gunnell has thought about telling his story to the victims' families.
At one point, I was going to sit down with the families and talk to them.
Insisting he feels terrible for them.
I couldn't imagine have that happen and not know for all these years. I really couldn't.
Especially because of the way police have handled the case.
By them to keep people thinking, well, yeah, we're working this case, we're doing everything we possibly can.
He does not trust investigators on the task force.
Over and over and over, man, I say to myself, that's corruption. That's these people doing some things to twist the truth, man.
Saying interrogators tried to trick him.
They're legally allowed to tell me anything. They can lie to me, say anything they want. Whether that was their motive at that time or not, I don't know.
Gunnell tells us he has nothing to hide.
I can't incriminate myself if I'm not guilty.
While insinuating he knows so much more.
I wish I could tell you that. I really do. I mean, seriously, I am right now. I'm getting emotional about thinking about things that I wish I could say. And I wish the public knew.
Right now, Vince Gunnell is in and out of prison. I think he's in right now. Art Sloan is in prison. These two guys are both alive. Christopher Bush and Gregory Green are dead. I'll get to that in a second. But currently you got two guys alive with DNA matches tied to them. They're both in prison right now. The police have not charged them with anything. You've got Christopher Bush, who is a primary suspect at the time, the son of this wealthy executive at GM. And GM was like the heart of money in the world. It's like saying his pops worked for Apple, was a high up VP at Apple or something or whatever. GM at the time was the center of money in America. Detroit was the center of money, the auto world. He allegedly commits suicide right in the middle of being interrogated, so to speak. Right in the middle of all this investigation, Christopher Bush is the number one person to look at. All kinds of evidence lead to Christopher Bush and Gregory Green. And then Christopher Bush ends up dead. And very shortly after that, the task force shuts down, claiming lack of resources. They give no other explanation. They say they have no evidence. They say they have nothing. They say they have everything you think of as evidence. Let's say they look for blood, no blood. DNA, no DNA. They didn't know DNA back then, but it's the same kind of shit. Semen or whatever. Hair follicles, shit like that. They claim they had nothing, man. And when I started digging into those documents, I can't believe it took me digging into those documents, which is kind of crazy. I don't even understand how it went decades without anybody actually getting those or looking into them. I saw that they had all kinds of evidence. They had blood, they had semen, they had saliva, they had fingerprints, they had clothing, they had all kinds of shit. They already had the DNA matches, but they were still publicly saying they have no evidence. So that was very funky, man. And immediately upon looking at those documents, I thought, oh shit, they covered this shit up. I actually like the police, man. I like the police. I appreciate what the police do. I'm not a police hater. So like, when you're talking to a guy like me who says the police covered this shit up, they lied through their teeth, I'm telling you the truth. I want nothing more than to say the opposite. But there were police that covered this shit up and lied through their teeth. And that's still going on, man. There is currently, right now, another DNA match that nobody is talking about because they don't know, because the police are sitting on it. And that DNA match from another of the bodies goes to a kid who was a teenager at the time of those murders, and he's sitting in prison right now for sex offenses. And that's a real thing that's happened that nobody's talked about. The TV show doesn't talk about it. No current YouTuber, no current TikToker, no current whatever. It's because nobody knows yet, except for an insider who told me about it, told me in detail about what they have right now. What I'm saying right now, there are 3 people in prison. Vince Gunnell, Art Sloan, and this other sex offender, all with DNA ties to this case. And the police have not yet put the grip on any of those people and said, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to charge you as an accessory unless you tell us what's happened. I mean, it'd be so easy. You take Art Sloan out of his cell and you put him in a box and you say, tell us now what the happened, or, you will die in here. And Art Sloan might say, well, I guess I'll die in here, because he's already, probably dying in there. But you take somebody like Vince Gunnell, who was a teenager, he was a molestation victim of Christopher Bush. Very many of us think that Bush and Green used boys to lure the girls. And those boys probably partook in some stuff. They know some shit. Vince Gunnels knows some shit. His DNA was found on one of the bodies, and he was a molestation victim of Christopher Bush and Gregory Green. Take Vince Gunnels out of the cell that he's in, put him in a box and say, look, brother, we're charging you as an accessory to these murders because we have your DNA, we have all kinds of shit, and you won't ever get out of prison. Or tell us what the happened. But nobody has done that. It's very suspicious. What all that anybody who studies this case can say is that they don't want the answer, because then they have to say, yeah, all you quote conspiracy theorists or whatever were right for 45 years or 50 years. It was Chris Bush, and it was Gregory Green, and it was Art Sloan, and it was these other guys from Cass Corridor, Ted Lamborghini, and it was Richard Lawson, who they gave a badge to as a confidential informant, and he used that badge to go around molesting kids in Detroit. And it was Frank Sheldon of Fox Island. But Frank Sheldon sitting in Amsterdam after absconding from Fox Island, who knows who did? He's sitting over there in Amsterdam, and before he absconded, running from the law on Fox Island, he was associated with Ted Lamborghini and Richard Lawson and Christopher Bush and Gregory Green and all those in the Detroit area. Frank Sheldon was sort of like the silent partner, let's call him, you know. There's no way in hell Frank Sheldon didn't know who a year later was killing these kids. Of course he did. Christopher Bush was the main suspect at the time. They pulled him in because he was looking at all these criminal sexual conduct charges, which he was found guilty of, along with Gregory Green. Interestingly enough, Gregory Green gets life on the same sexual charges that Christopher Bush gets probation for. You know, we can look at that and go, what the happened here? Or we can go, I know what the happened here. Christopher Bush is the son of a wealthy General Motors executive, and Gregory Green is a guy who already did time in California for this shit. Okay, so we'll give him life. But Christopher Bush gets probation on the same shit and $1,000 fine for molesting kids. He gets $1,000 fine. So that's what it cost to molest kids back in 1977, $1,000. And, however, possibly your life. Because what happened was Christopher Bush is sitting in a polygraph room with an independent examiner at first. He fails the polygraph. The independent examiner doesn't mention this. It's not his job to mention this. He's in fact, he's in a confidentiality thing. We only know this because decades later, this guy comes out and say, hey, Christopher Bush failed that polygraph, actually. But Christopher Bush is looked at as the main suspect at the time. Why? He seemed funky, man. He was looking at all these other criminal sexual conduct charges, and he was a shitty witness for himself in interrogation. And he and Gregory Green are diming on each other, and things just seem f***ing off. And Christopher Bush had, a year earlier, driven a similar car to the Blue Gremlin they were looking for. He drove a Chevy Vega. It was the same car. All kinds of things were pointing at Christopher Bush. Okay, the cops allegedly didn't know much about Christopher Bush, except that he looked like he might be associated with this, and they were still trying to press him a bit. But then what happens is Christopher Bush is reported as possibly being in trouble to some degree. His housekeeper shows up at his house. He's living with his parents at the time. He's in his 20s. The housekeeper shows up and she can't get in. So she calls Christopher Bush's brother, Charles, says, hey, there's something weird. I can't get into the house. So they think maybe something's going on with Christopher Bush. Charles calls the police and says, something's wrong. Can you go to my house? The police show up. This is the official narrative anyway. The police show up and they gain entry into the house and they find Christopher Bush dead in an upstairs bedroom. Allegedly from suicide. The weapon is a long gun, let's say 2 feet long. Allegedly, he hooked his thumb into this big gun and he shoved it into his head and shot himself or whatever. But at the alleged scene, they find ligatures and there's a picture of Mark Stebbins on the wall, a hand-drawn picture. Well, of screaming in pain, by the way, Mark Stebbins, the first victim. We say, well, gee, it's hand-drawn. Are you sure it's Mark Stebbins? It looks exactly like Mark Stebbins. So somebody who could drew a picture of Mark Stebbins. Christopher Bush wasn't a great artist, though, so it's interesting. But somebody who could drew a picture of Mark Stebbins and tacked it on Christopher Bush's wall. And in the closet, they found ligatures. And they also found a suitcase full of all of which has been either destroyed or hidden right now. They claim they lost it. We don't know what's in the suitcase full of child that was found at the Christopher Bush alleged scene. Nobody knows who's in those photos because the police claim they don't have it. We don't know where if there was blood on the ligatures that would later match any of the victims because the police claim they don't have the ligatures. And we don't know if there were fingerprints or anything taken from the drawing of Mark Stebbins to match to Christopher Bush or anybody, because nobody knows where any of this shit is. So we're talking about the largest murder investigation in state history, and your main suspect is found dead with ligatures, a drawing of the first victim, and a suitcase full of and allegedly all of the evidence is lost later.
So behind us right now is the former home of Christopher Bush, Chris Bush, the main leading suspect in the Oakland County child killings. Now, Chris Bush has been tied to North Fox Island. He was the son of a General Motors executive. So this guy had political power and a lot of money behind him. It's interesting. We've been driving around very rough neighborhoods in Detroit, looking at these other places, and then you come out here to this, I don't even know what you'd call it. It's like
suburb.
Yeah, but it's like Stepford Wives, like everything's perfect.
Very affluent.
Yeah, very rich area. And it was in this house where Christopher Bush was murdered. Now, the official report says that Chris took his own life. We don't believe that. I didn't believe that for a second when I read the story. The multiple shell casings found in the room, the lack of blood at the crime scene. But it was reported that Chris was doing things out of this house. We don't know if he held boys here, how much child was found in the home. We know that a lot was when they searched Christopher's residence. They found those images, a suitcase full of them, and films. But this is where he died. Now, was Christopher responsible? Was he a patsy? You don't know, but it's a weird contrast to go through all of these rougher neighborhoods where all these kids are being trafficked around, and then you come out here to the main suspect's house, and it's like money, rich. Shows you that money can buy anything, as disturbing as that is. And I wonder if those people know what happened in their house. It's eerie, that's for goddamn sure. Like, I wonder if these people's families have been here for a while, if they knew Bush and all
if
that.
the people who live there now know the shit that went down in that house.
Who knows? Whatever truth he had took it to the grave, and I think that was the point of getting him killed. Crazy, though. Crazy to visually see all these elements of a story that you've read so many times in my case.
Honestly.
All right.
So Christopher Bush has a picture of the victim, which is enough. He has ligatures, which is enough if they would test for DNA on that shit. He has a suitcase full of child, which is enough. The murder weapon is given to his father because his father says he wants it back. But he writes an IOU to the police department saying, I'll give this back to you if you want it. But they let him have it because he's H. Lee Bush. H. Lee Bush, the General Motors executive, his father, was also rumored to have been a procurer or a user of boys who procured them from some of the known suspects in this case. So let me paint this in another way. Christopher Bush grows up with H. Lee Bush, who is an alleged and rapist. H. Lee Bush and his peers at General Motors were involved in a little bit of a child sex ring, we think. Like, do I have proof of that? No, but we have dozens and dozens of people talking about it at the time. Not today, but at the time. And so was that shit ever looked at? No. Christopher Bush grows up with that man. Christopher Bush then, early on in his adulthood, is known to have molested one of the children of his brother. And then later, Christopher Bush is molesting kids all over the state, and looks good for one of these murders, and is then dead. And nobody can prove anything happened with him or whatever because he's dead. What we think in the community of people who really study this case is that it's very likely that H. Lee Bush, the General Motors executive, his father, or one of the associates of his at General Motors, who were rumored to also have been involved in a pedophile ring, took Christopher Bush out of the picture because there was a lot to lose should Christopher Bush sit in court and talk about everything that he knows. It's scary to think that the father of this guy, who was only in his 20s at the time, would have been complicit, if not active, in his murder. But it looks like Christopher Bush was murdered. There was no gunshot residue on his hands. There was no, all the usual stuff, whatever it is. We could spend an hour talking about it. But it looks very much like Christopher Bush was murdered. and that his father and the people at General Motors that were involved with his father and their sexual activities with children knew what the was up. Like Christopher Bush was going down for these murders if he were to live, and they couldn't have that happen. And that sounds a little crazy. Whether you think, well, yeah, but what kind of people were children? I mean, we assume, we don't know. H. Lee Bush was never convicted or charged or convicted of anything. But there's a lot of statements saying that, yeah, man, this guy used to get kids for H. Lee and all that shit. In fact, we know that Christopher Bush's mother showed up in a limousine to try to bribe Vince Gunnels into not talking about his molestation by Christopher Bush. I mean, Vince Gunnels is the one who has the DNA on one of the kids. But it's all laid out in the documents, at least the accusations. I'm not making up shit. Nobody ever came to me and said, hey, man, you just slandered me, because it's all in the documents. They all know it. There's not a single cop, not a single relative of the Bush family. Nobody ever came up to any of us who were writing about this shit and said, hey, you got it all wrong, because it's all right.
Our first stop here on the hunt for the Oakland County child killer brings us to suburban Detroit. Right here, we just circled this parking lot. We determined is where the first victim of the Oakland County child killer was dumped. Mark Douglas Stebbins. He was 12 years old, and on February 15th, 1976, his body was recovered. If you follow me right over here. I'm gonna turn the light on so now I can kind of see where we're stepping.
It was right on the other side.
He would have been found right here. We actually took a look at the crime scene photos, and Mark's body was found right next to a brick wall. So this wall looks to be old. This is right. Yeah, this is definitely right where his corpse was found. And if you actually, it's pretty crazy, man. If you come back over here, obviously I'm gonna blur them for YouTube, but we matched up the building itself right back there. That's the original building that was here back then. And we matched up the crime scene photos, the orientation of the detectives in the photos, and it points to his body being found literally right here. Now, I'm not going to 100% say with confidence that it was right here with this wall. Like maybe they removed some of the wall at some point in time or something like that. But I'm 99% sure it was right there behind that brick. Remember, with the Oakland County child killings, these children were dumped. They were not killed here. The mystery is, where were these kids killed? And obviously, since this is unsolved, who killed them? It's just wild to be here in Detroit. Like, this is a case we've wanted to cover for a long time. And to see the building and then connect that to the crime scene right there. It's haunting, man. Right?
I mean, the scariest part of these stories is that the person who did it is never been found, and there's probably even more than we even know of.
So our goal tonight, this is our first night on the ground in Detroit. We are going to employ a spirit box, an Ovilus device, and at some point an Estes method to see if we can speak with anybody or any spirits who are in this area who could point us in which direction we should go to investigate these killings. Now, obviously, this is a dark and very sensitive subject, so we're going to approach this with tenderness, with appreciation of the lives that were lost, with sensitivity. But we're doing this because we're in the pursuit of the truth here, and this is a story that I really think needs to be talked about more because the answers are right there, and yet nobody wants to acknowledge them. Let's get our stuff out, man. By the way, guys, we are joined in this video by Exploring with Josh.
Hey, guys, I'm ready. Now, mind you, I don't ever do murder cases, so this is my first time joining you guys. on this, so I'm excited, super excited.
Yeah, we've been talking with Josh all day, kind of blowing his mind with the details of all of this stuff and what happened, because it's you guys are going to see in a bit, it's really deep and dark.
Dude, no, like when they showed me the article, I had to read it like 100 times for it to stick in my head because it goes so far. I didn't even know, like, there was so many dates, I kept forgetting things, so it goes pretty deep.
You see, the whole point of this is not entertainment. We actually care about this story, and we want to help try to tell it and use tools that maybe it'll give us something that the investigators have never gotten. There are psychic elements to this case that are really intriguing. I don't know what that means. First two words on this device that came through were radiation manufacturer. Christopher Bush, the lead suspect, worked and ran a sex trafficking ring out of a power plant in Michigan. And that's like a lot of the people involved in this were involved in the energy. I don't know if it was nuclear, but same difference. Yeah. Manufacturing energy. I think that's that's a big part of this story that we didn't even cover yet.
Yeah, I don't even know about that yet. So that's actually, all right, you're telling me something I don't even know yet.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, actually. So let's just start this. Whoever's here with us, we're here to treat you with the most respect possible. Weirdly timed noises from under there. Four, dude, four alive. I don't know what the alive. I don't know what that means.
But it said four.
Four. There are four.
Yeah, it's four.
Four. So,
right.
I want to introduce ourselves. My name's Colin.
My name's Connor. And I'm Josh. We're good.
We're just here to ask you a couple questions. If there's somebody here with us, can you tell us something about the abduction that happened here, the body that was found?
What? No.
Pornography. The first word that came through.
Now, guys,
whoa, dude, I got
device really quick.
Yo, I actually got goosebumps from that, man.
What is that device? So we can tell everyone. It's like an ovulus. An ovulus?
Dude, I look
really
at my
got it.
Oh my god, dude, all my arm hair is standing on end. That is fucking insane.
Device.
Yeah, this
Just yeah.
It's basically fluctuations in the EMF energy in the environment will go through a algorithm and give you a word.
Right.
Pornography is the first word when we ask about the abduction.
And how many words would be in a word bank like that?
Glenn. There's 76,000 total words on this device.
76,000 words and we came up. I don't know. That is actually
that's
insane.
crazy. And the word Glenn, I don't know if that's a name associated.
And we wouldn't know anyways.
No.
Yeah.
We'll look it up.
Glenn. Scared me.
I know, there's like
I got actually scared. I thought there was like a wind gust that came through there, like someone's running at us. What is that?
Occupations.
Occupations? I mean, that could be anything. Does anyone here who knows who Christopher Bush is? What?
Submitting, bro.
Submitting.
Donated. The fucking pedophiles on the island.
People who donated. Oh, yep.
They were getting the dude.
Through the donations.
Whoa, that's actually insane.
Donated.
Donated gear.
Like cameras and shit?
That's so dark. So to explain that little facet of this, the North Fox Island ring, pedophiles would donate money to the camp that Francis Sheldon operated on the island. And in return, he would send them child prints. He would send them prints, bro. What the fuck? That is insane. Yes. I literally, dude, he would send them prints.
This thing has been spot on right now.
And it said at the very beginning. Oh my God, dude.
This is spot on. So obviously someone here is talking to us because that can't be all right nonstop like that. Someone's definitely talking to us. Samuel. And then Knox. You had Knox before that.
Dude, that's prints. I literally was saying, so the would receive printed child pornography and videos mailed to their house if they donated. So whoever's here, can I ask, was your death involved with the operations of a ring on an island?
See me.
See me?
We can't see you, but if you talk, we can hear you. Whoever this is. Were you ever taken to North Fox Island?
Island!
What the? I'm not shitting you, bro. Look at that. 29,000 words and phrases, and it picks
Island.
Dude, no. Island and in one go I was sitting. Dude, somebody's just blurring it all out to us.
Bro, I'm actually like,
that is so.
what
This was the best ever in one go.
Nag.
Threat. Island threat pornography. Dude.
It's painting a disturbing picture.
Right.
Threatened to keep quiet about the island, because the theory is some of these kids, the North Fox Island ring was busted in late 1976, but his body was found at the beginning of 1976. So some people theorize. Dude,
that's what happens.
Like moving.
I know, it sounds like
you feel like there's someone here.
Is there someone here with us right now?
What else can you tell us?
Take them.
Take them to the island.
What if they were taken to the island for 7? Because remember, they didn't die all at once.
Yeah.
So for 7 days, they could have been at the island and then drop back off here.
That's the theory, is that especially with his body, because he was taken and murdered and dumped while that ring was in full swing.
So he could have already been there when all that stuff was happening. So his prints could have been donated.
He was there.
He was there. We're just talking about it right now. Yes.
Dude, that like didn't even connect.
Yes.
Take them. He was there.
Holy.
What if it's saying take them to the island?
Walk back.
Walk back.
Does he want us to? I mean, we can't go. It's private property. Look, we can walk over here a little
But
bit.
it's even like take them to the island.
That's
He
what I
was
mean.
there.
Take them.
He was there.
Do you want us to go to Fox Island?
Deceived, bro. Dude,
no way.
Deceived, because the kids
Yeah.
were all deceived. They were told they were going to summer camp, and they were on camera. Reuters. That's weird. News, like Reuters, the
What is that?
huge international news that's
right,
been running since like definitely at that time. Are you saying you want us to take this story to the news? Pudding.
I don't know.
We walked back here. Histology. Thank you for telling us the island is insane, guys. The island is Armenia.
I don't know.
So we're trying to find out what happened on the island.
One lady here.
One lady.
One lady. A lady on the island. Who was there on the island? Or should I say, were you killed on the island?
Again?
Again.
Again?
Wait, what did I just ask about the island?
I already forgot what you asked.
Who was on the island?
I said, who was on the island? Were you killed on the island?
Did they do anything bad to you on that island?
They've upset me.
They've upset me.
He was there again.
He was there.
And what did that say? They've upset me. He was there.
Holy shit. I feel like we're having a whole conversation and they're just talking back to us accurately.
Well, it's crazy. It might be even like they've upset me. He was there. No one did anything about it.
Right.
Polton. There was a guy named Polton there? Is that what you're saying?
Say Chris? Chris. Come on.
I am not.
It's legit. I just feel like
It was peaceful.
My death was peaceful? Okay.
I don't get that.
Chris. Guys.
Cameron?
Cameron.
What's up with all the
Unless
C-names?
Cameron's like one of some other kid from the island. I mean, hundreds of kids were there. I'm not sure.
I mean, guys. Chris.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, Chris is Chris
Chris is the main suspect.
of the whole thing.
Christopher, technically.
Yeah. And the whole thing with Christopher, just so I can like remember this, is like he was the one that apparently did kill all of them, and he did the whole polygraph, failed it, and still didn't go to jail. And then he did all these other rapes and killings, but never got in trouble for any of them. And his dad was the General Motors guy.
Yep.
And he had all the money to get out of everything. All right. I just want to make that clear and sure too.
Yeah, and don't forget, he took his own life.
Oh, right. And yeah. Can you explain that as well?
Christopher's role in all of this, Christopher Bush, Chris Bush, he's the lead suspect here. He's a part of this ring, people believe. And his dad was a power player, chief financial officer of General Motors, super wealthy family. Chris came from money. He got off on multiple charges of assaulting children, kidnapping children with other men. I mean, his parents would pay off victims all the time too. And when he got out on bail from his initial kidnapping and sexual abuse charges against kids, the Oakland County child killings started. And basically at the end of all of this, he failed a polygraph, like you said. And there's a lot more that we're going to get into with him, but he apparently killed himself, even though there were 4 rifle shell casings found in his home. There was no blood anywhere in his apartment, or his house, even though he allegedly literally took a rifle and blew his brains out. There was no blood. And there's a lot of inconsistencies with the story.
Now, one thing I want to know is there was one thing I read that he admitted to 3 locations where he would pick kids up, and 3 of them were for the Oakland County killers, in the same locations.
Yeah.
So he admittedly already pretty much ratted on himself, not knowing.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
And here's the shocking part. To this day, he's never been officially connected to the Oakland County child killings. It's all a conspiracy, even though it's 100% he was the guy. So there's even people that admitted that he did it.
So do you think it was just a big cover up and all the head honchos and everyone put their money to kind of shush everyone up?
I don't know if Christopher killed all of the children. Forgetful.
But for him not to get in any trouble, do you think it's because of Daddy and the money?
I think Christopher was involved in the much wider ring. They may have been producing snuff films with children on North Fox Island, and he definitely had his hand in some of these murders. But at the end of the day, when the police started putting pressure on him and they were closing in on him as a suspect, he was killed. And that's my personal opinion. He didn't take his life. They kind of like Epstein wanted to take him out.
Exactly. I was going to say that goes the same thing with Epstein. It just happens to be another island. It's just freaking crazy.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. This is all
insane. That has to be some of the craziest shit that we've ever seen on this.
For real.
I mean, dude, it's incredibly dark, bro. It's incredibly dark.
Accurate evidence.
Yes.
And this is what we're looking for.
This has to be the most accurate this thing's ever been, ever. We've used it in probably 20 videos now.
Jesus.
Were you flown on a plane to the island or a boat?
Sandy.
Sandy. What? I said Sandy? So was it
heartbreaking and terrifying at the same time. And it's like, we came here seeking some sort of answer. We already have it, dude.
I don't even know what to say anymore. I just feel like we solved the case without even like doing anything. We just, you know what I mean? At least in paranormal world, it's just ridiculous.
I mean, it's like the validity of all of this and the devices that we have.
Let's get our stuff out, man. By the way, guys, we are joined in this
island and in one go I was sitting here. Dude, somebody's just blurring it all out to us.
Bro, I'm actually like,
that is so
what
some of the best ever in one go.
Nag.
Threat. Island threat pornography. Dude.
It's painting a disturbing picture.
Right.
Threatened to keep quiet about the island because the theory is some of these kids, the North Fox Island ring was busted in late 1976, but his body was found at the beginning of 1976. So some people theorize. Dude,
that's what happens.
Like moving.
I know, it sounds like
you feel like there's someone here.
Is there someone here with us right now?
What else can you tell us?
Take them
to the island.
What if they were taken to the island for 7? Because remember, they didn't die all at once.
Yeah.
So for 7 days, they could have been at the island and then drop back off here.
That's the theory, is that especially with his body, because he was taken and murdered and dumped while that ring was in full swing.
So he could have already been there when all that stuff was happening. So his prints could have been donated.
He was there.
He was there. We're just talking about it right now.
Oh.
Yes.
Dude, that like didn't even connect.
Yes.
Take them. He was there.
Holy.
What if it's saying take them to the island?
Walk back.
Walk back.
Does he want us to? I mean, we can't go. It's private property. Look, we can walk over here a little
But
bit.
it's even like take them to the island.
That's
He
what I
was
mean.
there.
Take them.
He was there.
Do you want us to go to Fox Island?
Deceived, bro. Dude,
no way.
Deceived, because the kids were all deceived. They were told they were going to summer camp, and they were on camera. Reuters. That's weird. News, like Reuters, the
What is that?
huge international news that's
right,
been running since like definitely at that time. Are you saying you want us to take this story to the news? Pudding.
I don't know.
We walked back here. Histology. Thank you for telling us the island is insane, guys. The island is Armenia.
Don't know.
So we're trying to find out what happened on the island.
One lady here. One lady.
One lady. A lady on the island. Who was there on the island? Or should I say, were you killed on the island?
Again?
Again? Wait, what did I just ask about the island?
I already forgot what you asked.
Who was on the island?
I said, who was on the island? Were you killed on the island?
Did they do anything bad to you on that island?
They've upset me.
They've upset me.
He was there again.
He was there.
And what did that say? They've upset me. He was there.
Holy shit. I feel like we're having a whole conversation and they're just talking back to us accurately.
Well, it's crazy. It might be even like they've upset me. He was there. No one did anything about it.
Right.
Polton. There was a guy named Polton there? Is that what you're saying?
Say Chris?
Chris.
Come on.
I am not.
It's legit.
Dude.
I just feel like
It was peaceful.
My death was peaceful? Okay.
I don't get that.
Chris. Guys.
Cameron?
Cameron.
What's up with all the
Unless
scenes?
Cameron's like one of some other kid from the island. I mean, hundreds of kids were there. I'm not sure.
I mean, guys. Chris.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, Chris is Chris.
Chris is the main suspect
of the whole thing.
Christopher, technically.
Yeah. And the whole thing with Christopher, just so I can like remember this, is like he was the one that apparently did kill all of them, and he did the whole polygraph, failed it, and still didn't go to jail. And then he did all these other and killings, but never got in trouble for any of them. And his dad was the General Motors guy.
Yep.
And he had all the money to get out of everything. All right. I just want to make that clear and sure too.
Yeah, and don't forget, he took his own life.
Oh, right. And yeah. Can you explain that as well?
Christopher's role in all of this, Christopher Bush, Chris Bush, he's the lead suspect here. He's a part of this ring, people believe. And his dad was a power player, chief financial officer of General Motors, super wealthy family. Chris came from money. He got off on multiple charges of assaulting children, kidnapping children with other men. I mean, his parents would pay off victims all the time too. And when he got out on bail from his initial kidnapping and sexual abuse charges against kids, the Oakland County child killings started. And basically at the end of all of this, he failed a polygraph, like you said. And there's a lot more that we're going to get into with him, but he apparently killed himself, even though there were 4 rifle shell casings found in his home. There was no blood anywhere in his apartment, or his house, even though he allegedly literally took a rifle and blew his brains out. There was no blood. And there's a lot of inconsistencies with the story.
Now, one thing I want to know is, there was one thing I read that he admitted to 3 locations where he would pick kids up, and 3 of them were for the Oakland County killers, in the same locations.
Yeah.
So he admittedly already pretty much ratted on himself, not knowing.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
And here's the shocking part. To this day, he's never been officially connected to the Oakland County child killings. It's all a conspiracy, even though it's 100% he was the guy. So there's even people that admitted that he did it.
So do you think it was just a big cover up, and all the head honchos and everyone put their money to kind of shush everyone up?
I don't know if Christopher killed all of the children. Forgetful.
But for him not to get in any trouble, do you think it's because of Daddy and the money?
I think Christopher was involved in the much wider ring. They may have been producing snuff films with children on North Fox Island, and he definitely had his hand in some of these murders. But at the end of the day, when the police started putting pressure on him and they were closing in on him as a suspect, he was killed. And that's my personal opinion. He didn't take his life. They kind of like Epstein wanted to take
exactly.
him out.
I was going to say that goes the same thing with Epstein. It just happens to be another island. It's just freaking crazy.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. This is all
insane. That has to be some of the craziest shit that we've ever seen on this.
For real.
I mean, dude, it's incredibly dark, bro. It's incredibly dark.
Accurate evidence.
Yes.
And this is what we're looking for.
This has to be the most accurate this thing's ever been. Ever. We've used it in probably 20 videos now.
Jesus.
Were you flown on a plane to the island or a boat?
Sandy.
What?
I said Sandy? So
That's crazy,
it still
bro.
goes with island, and it still goes with boat, kinda.
No, it 100%.
Yeah, all right. I thought it was
That is insane, dude.
That's weird.
That's the thing, dude. This is so freaking accurate.
To whoever's here, I just want to ask the boy whose body was found here, what happened to him before his death? I know this is a tough question to ask, but what happened to him before? Harden?
Harden.
Can you tell us anything about what happened to him before he died? Or how he was killed? Anything like that?
Airplane.
No, it did not.
Dude.
It did not. Airplane. I asked it. How'd you get there? And it just said airplane. How the fuck?
No way.
How the
Did
fuck?
you actually just ask that?
I said that. You heard? I said, how'd you get there? By plane or by boat? That's what I said. And it just said airplane.
It's insane, bro.
We're hose.
What the fuck?
I'm actually stunned. I don't even know.
The evidence is so good. It's some of the best stuff I've got accuracy in a long time.
Bro, the whole thing is coming out here right now, we didn't even expect this conversation to be about North Fox Island, or we were just trying to come out here to talk about Mark and like his death and what happened. Pressure PF. I mean, bro, it's like I'm like shocked actually right now because this is a story I've been so invested in, and to fucking hear these words coming through our device right now is heartbreaking and terrifying at the same time. And it's like we came here seeking some sort of an answer. We already have it, dude.
I don't even know what to say anymore. I just feel like we solved the case without even like doing anything. We just, you know what I mean? At least in paranormal world, it's just ridiculous.
I mean, it's like the validity of all of this and the devices that we have. Legislative.
We got a lot of answers here, more than we expected. It's gonna start raining again soon. We just looked at the weather app, so we're gonna start driving to the next location. But if there's anybody here, is there anything you would like us to tell a family member of yours who might still be alive, or any final message? We're so sorry if we disturbed you, but we want to help tell your story accurately and get some justice for the person whose body was found right here.
Sad, dude.
I know. Yeah, it kind of feels emptier all of a sudden.
It does.
Like, it's just energy that you can't get on camera, but you feel like it's really kind of like gone different here.
It was amazing, and yeah, it's a little quiet.
The rain.
True. Everything's stopping.
When we do these videos, I think what's crazy is when you just stop for a second and think a 12-year-old's body was found right there and no one's been convicted for the murder. Violations? It's just like, and obviously somebody who's here in this area wants to tell us that there's, I'm just mind blown, a link to a fucking island. Like, I expected maybe like 1 or 2 words in this 50-minute session that we've done to line up. We probably got 20 responses that were
back to back,
right on it.
I mean, exactly what we were looking for,
but more.
Yeah.
Literally.
Well, you guys want to go to the next one?
Yeah.
Looks like the rain's clearing up, actually, weirdly enough.
It is. Very nice.
Perfect time.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thank you to whoever's here.
Yeah, thank you for speaking to us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You've been amazing.
Hopefully, what we do, we can at least try to bring a little bit more light to the situation that put your life to an end. And we're truly sorry about what happened to you.
Well, on to site number 2.
Let's go.
When 10-year-old Christine Mihalich never came home from a 3-block trip to a party store in Berkeley, within 2 weeks, she too was found dead, this time in Franklin Village.
This is where 10-year-old Christine Mihalich was found.
Like in these woods right here?
Just dumped right here on the right. Makes sense.
Yeah, she was dumped somewhere right around here.
In this neighborhood. This neighborhood's obviously new and built.
Yeah.
Look, this house is all completely redone.
It didn't
So
used to
back
be
then,
like
this was all woods.
Private property. Violators will be persecuted.
Yeah, we could get out right here then.
Well, we're on a public road, so. So the second victim of the Oakland County child killings, Christine Marie Mihalich, was found right here in this area on January 2nd, 1977. This was a brutal death. She was found frozen here because it was really cold in this area at the time. There's still no justice for Christine. We would get out here and investigate. We were going to, but this isn't a really nice looking neighborhood now. Back then when this happened, this was really undeveloped. And as you can see right there, they don't want anybody poking around here. We don't know exactly where her body was found, but it was somewhere in this area. And once again, it's just eerie to think this place was only 10 minutes from where we just filmed our investigation at the first body dumping site. The thing is that's really interesting to consider here is the fact that this killer didn't care. Her body was found, as it says online and in the reports, in very clear view of the houses around here. So this killer was really comfortable coming down here and dumping a body, almost begging for it to be found, you know?
I never even thought of that. That's true. Just like with Mark, the first death, it's in a public like garage, like just right there.
Yeah. The killer wanted these bodies to be found. So what message were they sending with it? We don't know.
That's the thing. No one knows. And like, why? Why well fed them and take care of them just to dump them anyway?
Just to dump them somewhere along here. Christine, we're sorry that what happened to you happened. We're doing this for you if you can hear us. And we all hope that you found some sort of love and peace. Crazy just to think of the dark things that happen that you never know about. This is a really nice neighborhood, probably expensive to live here. And an unsolved child murder, the body was found right here. Well, not right here. I don't know exactly where, but somewhere along this road. It's just crazy to think about. Well, let's keep going.
The victim this time, Timothy King, age 11 of Birmingham. Last seen at a party store 3 blocks from home. Found a few weeks later on a dark roadside in Livonia.
Damn, so his body was there, but man, that looks nothing like this place now. It's all redevelopment.
I wonder if that house is still there.
Let's try to find that.
Well, it's got to be one of these houses that's right here.
No, not close, huh? That one looks like more of a pointy one on the roof.
Yeah, the map says he was found on the other side of the road. So right now we've come to Gill Road and 8 Mile here in Detroit. This is where March 22nd, 1977, Timothy King, his body was found. Timothy was only 11 years old when he died, and when he was found, his body was still warm, so they assumed that he had been strangled about 6 hours earlier, or suffocated, I should say. He had chicken in his stomach. Seems like the killer had listened to Timothy's mother talking about how she would feed him chicken when he got home, his favorite meal. And all the reports say that Timmy's body was found in a shallow ditch off of Gill Road. Now, we're off Gill Road right now. There's no exact pinpoint as to where his body was found, but this is kind of some of the last undeveloped property. The house in the picture, we couldn't find a match. Obviously, it's at night, but it had to be somewhere right here in this area because everybody says Gill Road and 8 Mile. So we're going to do a quick spirit box and see if anything happens. Now, something I will say, Timmy is linked to Christopher Bush. Once again, that suspect that we were just talking about. Timmy was, according to a witness, another victim who turned into a perpetrator. Timmy was sexually assaulted at Christopher's lake cabin. And
now, was this lake cabin on Fox Island or near it?
It was near Fox Island.
Okay.
And so Timmy's never been officially linked to Christopher or anything like that because, like we've said many times, there are no answers in this case.
Weren't they seen together?
Yeah, they were. That's what I'm saying. The victim, years later, testified that he had been raped with Timmy at the same time by Christopher.
Okay.
We're going to run a spirit box right now. And why don't we just want to go in a circle and ask some questions?
Yeah.
Xbox.
I want to introduce ourselves to anybody who might be here. My name's Colin.
My name's Connor. And my name's Josh.
If you can hear our voice right now, if there is somebody here, can you tell us hi or hello or something like that? Texas. I'm dead. Hate this. Please. Can you tell us your name? Kid's voice. A local.
Help me?
Two men. Choked to death. I swear to God, I just heard choked to death.
It sounded like.
Did you hear
say
that?
Were you choked to death? Can you say yes or no?
Maybe.
All these people.
Dad.
Was there other people involved?
Your child. I'm used to it.
Have you been to Fox Island? I've been there. Yep, I've been. Yep. Fox.
I swear to God, I would.
Okay.
All right. Can you say your name loudly and clearly, please? We just want to figure out who you are.
Jump off the plane.
Uh-huh.
Sorry. People.
Can you tell us who did this to you? Detroit.
Uh-huh. Do you know the name of the person who murdered the child that was found here? Can you say the name?
Huh. Do you need any help? If you do, can you say the word help? I heard help.
I want to get confirmation. So the child whose body was found here, who was murdered, they were brought to an island. Can you say yes or confirm that?
I think because it's kind of low, there might be a lot of things we're missing that we're going to pick up through editing this. I think we're going to hear a lot more than we think.
Well, how about to finish this out, we walk over there and do 5 minutes on that side.
Yeah, just in case
this wasn't the area.
Yeah. To be fair, only one car, I think, or two came by this whole street, I think, since we're doing that. And they're in the middle of the whole street. It's like you said earlier, it's like a ghost town here. Look at this. The middle of the whole street, it's wide and everything. There's no one here.
Yeah, and that brings up something to think about. If nowadays in 2024 we can stand out here in the middle of the road, no cars coming either direction, any of the four directions. Back in the 70s, nobody was out here.
So yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, so anything could happen. It's just even more quieter. It's pretty spooky, man.
Dude, something interesting about this, think about it. It was pouring rain when we were driving here. And like the moment we got here, the rain completely stopped. There's no rain. Look at, there's zero rain falling. Isn't that odd? So maybe we're closer now to where your body was found. Can you tell us your name, please? Say it really loud and clear. Local.
His name is.
I heard local again.
And I heard his name is. Caleb?
Hello. Can you tell us the name of the person that did that to the little boy? Mark.
And tell or can't tell?
Can't tell. We're trying right now to piece together who committed those horrific child murders here, of even the boy whose body was found in this area. Where should we go investigate next? Where should we ask these questions? Where did these crimes happen?
If Timmy's here with us, can you tell us what happened that night?
He choked.
I swear to God, it was
Can you tell us who choked him?
Oh my God, I heard Timothy.
Who did it?
Was Christopher Bush involved in the death of this child in any way?
Dead.
Yep. Now, you might not know the answer to this question, but did Christopher Bush take his own life, or did someone kill him?
Yeah, he's a dead man. I think there's so much more we're not hearing that I can't wait to actually play this over and edit.
Right.
I really do. I think there's a lot more.
All right. Final two questions. One, what's the next location we should go ask questions at?
Island? I heard Academy, but I'm not sure.
One more time, more clearly. Do you have anything left to say to us? Thank you, whoever was here speaking with us. Do you have anything left to say?
I don't know. It's like dead, but it's not. We might not. I feel like it's saying a lot. We're not understanding. That's my opinion.
There's a lot of voices. I mean, it said Fox, multiple references to children, choked. So, but it almost seems like the energy here is almost afraid to speak. Oh my God, my light just died, dude.
Oh, I thought it was a light over there for a second.
No, look at my camera light just died right when we finished. It's weird. But guys, it's 2 a.m. This is our first night. Really good leads. I think the takeaway, the first session was incredible. Airplane Island. It told us about it. Here it confirmed that someone was murdered. They were choked. It's begging us to go investigate. It might have said Fox, might have said Island. We might have missed it. It almost seems like they're trying to tell us that there was more than Christopher.
That's what it seems like the whole night. It's like multiple men. It kept saying a bunch of different things that you're right leads to that. It could be there was way more than just Chris.
Well, I think there was more than just Chris, but now it's our turn to try and investigate and figure out who they are.
So you want to get to the island?
I do want to go to the island.
So we go to sleep. We wake up, we take a charter plane onto the island.
I guess.
This just sounds nuts, but I'm down. Let's do that. That's the life we live.
At the same time,
All righty, and we are going to take a break right there. Hopefully you can hear me. And we will pick up part 2 tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And trust me, you'll want to be here for part 2. This is a 3-hour stream. And I wanted to break it down because when they get up to Sheboygan, which is up in the UP in Michigan, which is the very top end of the hand, it's way up here on the side. Sheboygan is built by the same guy that owns Fox Island. So when they get there, they're going to run into a lot of problems with the local residents. This guy was a philanthropist. He's well connected. His dad worked for GM, and you heard it. I mean, this guy has got connections left and right. I don't know why my cam's not working. There I am. So, like I said, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, and we shall get back up there and pick up at Sheboygan. I appreciate everyone being here, and do me a favor, put the word out. Let's get some more people in here. Yeah, this was back in 1976 through 77. I was in Europe when I heard about it through Stars and Stripes. My mom lived in California and made national news. If you do a research, just type in, the Oakland County child killer, there is a ton, and I mean a ton, of sites that are all about this. Some good, some bad, and this is one of the best ones that I could find. It not only touched on the beginning of it, of how he got involved, but the guy that was in the white t-shirt actually did the research on this because he was an SA victim. And there's over 1,000 pages of evidence that he was able to FOIA. And once he got all that compiled, he started digging more and more and more and hooked up with these guys, and you see the result. So it's kind of neat. Yeah, child killer there for 1976. Yeah. If you type that in the way it is, that will work. That's what I used when I first started, which is Oakland County Child Killer, 1970. Ton of news broadcasts, and I'll probably lead off with those. That way it brings everybody up to speed. All right, so until tomorrow night, you guys have a fantastic night. What time's a good time for you, Jazz? I know MSC has a show that they put on Sunday. Yeah, I'm glad to see you, pretty. Yeah, this one's really interesting, and the best is yet to come when they get to Sheboygan. They ran into a ton of roadblocks all over the place trying to get an airplane to get to that island. Okay. All right, so let's shoot for tomorrow night. I wasn't sure if it was Sunday or Monday. That's why I wanted to do it this weekend. All righty, so I shall see you guys then. Put the word out, share this video. I'm going to edit this down real quick where we got the boo-boo in it, and then kind of put it all together. So it may be edited tomorrow. All right. So until then, be good, be safe, be happy, and put a smile on somebody's face. That's what counts. I love you guys. Thanks for joining me. Have a beautiful night. Yeah, that's nothing new for Ryan. They may do a snow alert for support for the UP. I know they got a ton, and Sunday they're supposed to get like 2 feet, something like that. I mean, we just got a dusting down here. It don't count. And for those of you that don't know where I live in Oakland County. That's why I wanted to do this one. This one's close to home. All righty. So be good, guys. I'll see you later. I'm going to call it a night. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, kiddo. All right. Well, this is right down your neck of the woods. All right. If you guys want to do an on-panel discussion, feel free to join me Sunday night. That night.